Imagine a world where energy scarcity is a myth and clean power is limitless. What if I told you the key to this future has been hidden in plain sight, developed by brilliant Black innovators? This isn't science fiction. It's a revolutionary technology about to change everything you know about global energy. Are you ready to see the unseen? The world today runs on energy as if it were oxygen. Yet our dependence has become both our strength and our greatest vulnerability. Global demand for power surges higher every year, with billions of people seeking access to electricity that powers their homes, workplaces, and industries. Fossil fuels, once seen as the backbone of industrial progress, have turned into a ticking time bomb for our environment. Climate change is accelerating, driven by our reliance on oil, gas, and coal, and the effects ripple across every continent. Melting glaciers, record heat waves, devastating storms, and floods remind us that our energy system is failing the planet. Renewable solutions like solar and wind, though growing, still face challenges of intermittency, cost, and infrastructure. Even nuclear, hailed by some as a reliable answer, comes with its own baggage of waste, risk, and controversy. Humanity stands at a crossroads, demanding innovation beyond the incremental improvements we've grown used to. What if the answer wasn't simply a bigger solar farm or a more efficient wind turbine? What if the real revolution lay in something unseen, something hidden from mainstream awareness, something we could call black tech? This black tech is not a piece of science fiction, nor a mystical dream. It is a category of hidden technologies birthed from innovators whose voices have often been silenced or overlooked by the global stage. It is called black not because of its color, but because it remains invisible, buried beneath layers of suppression, indifference, or deliberate concealment. The unseen becomes the powerful, and in this case, it may hold the secret to the energy future we desperately need. Imagine a device so efficient that it captures energy from sources we barely pay attention to: ambient radio waves, magnetic resonance, or subatomic vibrations. Imagine a material engineered at the nano level to convert wasted heat into usable electricity with little to no loss. Imagine power generation not as massive, centralized plants, but as decentralized, limitless access points. This is what black tech whispers to us: the promise of energy independence for every person on Earth. The basics of this technology can be explained simply, even if its underlying science is profound. Think of how your phone charges wirelessly when you place it on a pad. Now, imagine scaling that concept up 1,000 times, not needing a pad at all, and allowing entire homes, cars, or factories to draw power invisibly from the environment. Or consider how plants capture sunlight through photosynthesis, converting energy with astonishing efficiency compared to our man-made solar panels. What if materials could be designed to mimic and even surpass that process, harvesting photons and electrons far more effectively? At its core, black tech works by tapping into overlooked or underestimated reservoirs of power, converting them in ways our current technologies cannot. It is not bound by burning, spinning, or splitting. It operates through resonance, vibration, and transformation. For everyday understanding, think of it like this: energy is all around us, yet most of it slips through our fingers. Heat escaping from engines, signals traveling invisibly through the air, vibrations under our feet, and electromagnetic fields around us. These are all rivers of wasted power. Black tech is the dam, the turbine, and the pipeline that could capture and convert these rivers into usable electricity. Just as Wi-Fi connects us invisibly to the internet, this technology promises invisible connectivity to energy itself. That is the unseen difference. It does not require massive visible structures. It does not scream its presence with giant turbines or panels. It simply works in silence, quietly reshaping the way energy flows through society. The first disruption comes not in the lab, but in the imagination. Once you realize energy can be drawn from places we never thought possible, the entire structure of our energy economy begins to wobble. Power plants the size of cities could become obsolete if every home generated what it needed silently within its walls. Oil-rich nations could find their leverage diminished as entire continents no longer depended on their exports. Transportation could break free from charging stations, with vehicles that power themselves indefinitely. The grid itself, once the symbol of modernity, could dissolve into a decentralized network where power is everywhere and owned by everyone. Yet this technology has not broken into the mainstream conversation, and that is part of what makes it so fascinating. Prototypes exist, experiments have been conducted, and whispers of successful small-scale tests circulate in obscure journals and closed-door meetings. But why haven't you heard of it before now? Why is something so revolutionary still unseen? The truth lies in a tangled web of scientific caution, corporate interest, and political inertia. Technologies that threaten to disrupt trillion-dollar industries do not get welcomed with open arms. Oil companies, utility giants, and even governments benefit from the status quo, and anything that promises true decentralization of power, both electrical and political, is bound to face resistance. The unseen nature of black tech is not just about physics. It is about suppression. It is about inventors denied patents, prototypes shelved, and breakthroughs dismissed as pseudoscience. It is about a world where energy monopolies cannot afford to let every household become self-sufficient. But history shows us that suppression only delays the inevitable. Just as the printing press, electricity, and the internet eventually broke through, so too will this technology, when the weight of its potential can no longer be ignored. Until then, it remains unseen, hidden in plain sight, waiting for awareness to catch up. The real-world applications of black tech are staggering. Picture a rural African village, far from the reach of power lines, where children study at night under clean electric light powered by invisible energy harvested from the environment. Imagine skyscrapers in New York or Tokyo powered not by fossil fuel plants but by the vibrations of the city itself, converted into electricity silently and endlessly. Think of disaster zones where traditional infrastructure collapses, yet survivors still find access to power through portable devices that channel the unseen energy around them. Entire transportation systems, cars, trains, even planes, could operate without fuel, running indefinitely on the conversion of environmental power sources. The military, space exploration, medicine, all stand to be revolutionized by a power source that never runs out and never pollutes. This is no small leap. It is a transformation of civilization itself. The economic ripple effects are equally profound. Industries would rise around new materials, new devices, and new systems built to harness this power. Millions of jobs could be created as the world transitions away from centralized fossil fuels toward decentralized black tech solutions. Traditional industries, oil, coal, natural gas, would see collapse or forced evolution, while new giants would emerge from the innovators and entrepreneurs who embrace the unseen. The geopolitical map would shift as nations rich in fossil fuels lose influence, while those who adopt black tech rise in prominence. Entire economies could be reborn, not around extraction but around innovation and sustainability. Energy poverty could vanish, replaced by a global standard where every person has access to the power they need to live, create, and thrive. But if all of this is possible, why is it not already here? The obstacles are as formidable as the potential. Technically, the challenge lies in scaling prototypes into mass adoption. Devices that work in the lab must withstand real-world stress, variability, and demand. Regulatory systems are not designed to accommodate such radical decentralization. Entire codes and policies would need rewriting. Intellectual property battles rage in the shadows, with innovators fighting to protect their inventions from corporate appropriation. The financial barriers are immense, as investors accustomed to safe, slow returns hesitate to back something so disruptive. And, perhaps most daunting, the gatekeepers of our energy system, corporations, governments, and institutions, are not eager to relinquish control. The unseen narrative deepens here. For some, black tech is not just overlooked, it is actively hidden. Whispers of corporate suppression abound, with stories of inventors bought out, silenced, or discredited. Geopolitical interests loom large, as nations dependent on energy exports resist anything that could erode their power. Public awareness is minimal, and when stories do emerge, they are often dismissed as fringe or conspiracy. But history has taught us to question who benefits from the current order and who suffers from change. Energy monopolies thrive on scarcity, not abundance. They profit when the world believes power is difficult to obtain, not when it flows freely and endlessly. So we must ask ourselves, Is this obscurity a simple oversight of history, or is it a deliberate suppression to protect the profits of the few? The answer likely lies somewhere in between, shaped by inertia, skepticism, and vested interest. Yet even as these forces resist, the march of progress is relentless. Every whisper becomes a voice, every suppressed patent becomes a rediscovered blueprint, and every small-scale prototype becomes a proof that cannot be ignored forever. The unseen black tech is not a fantasy. It is a seed planted in the cracks of the old system, growing slowly, silently, waiting for its moment to burst into the light. And that moment may be closer than we think. Your role in this revolution is not passive. Awareness is the first step, for what remains unseen cannot change the world until people demand its presence. To talk about it, to research it, to share the knowledge, is to push the boundaries of what society allows into the mainstream conversation. The unseen revolution finally begins when the first public demonstration occurs. In a modest hall filled with journalists, scientists, and curious skeptics, a small device no larger than a shoebox is placed at the center of the stage. The inventor speaks softly, explaining that what people are about to see is not a trick, but the culmination of years of overlooked work. The box hums faintly, and suddenly a set of lights flickers on across the room without any wires, without any connection to an external power source. The audience gasps, realizing they are witnessing something that should be impossible according to the rules of conventional energy systems. Cameras roll, and within hours, the footage spreads across the internet like wildfire, sparking debates, excitement, and fierce opposition. Scientists begin dissecting the demonstration, some dismissing it as a hoax, others admitting that the results defy mainstream understanding. For the first time, black tech is no longer invisible, no longer whispered about in obscure corners. It is a global conversation. Governments react cautiously, issuing statements that demand further proof before any endorsement can be made. Energy corporations, on the other hand, sense the threat immediately and move swiftly to control the narrative. They fund think tanks to publish articles discrediting the science, calling it a scam designed to fool the public. Media outlets, dependent on advertising from fossil fuel industries, amplify the skepticism, framing the invention as too good to be true. Yet amid the storm of denial, small groups of engineers and independent researchers begin replicating the results. Every successful replication makes suppression more difficult because the unseen is becoming undeniable. Communities in Africa, Asia, and South America show particular enthusiasm, recognizing that this technology could free them from dependence on fragile grids. For rural villages, the promise of self-powered homes is more than convenience. It is survival, education, and opportunity. The launch of black tech devices in pilot projects stirs hope that energy poverty could be eradicated within a generation. International organizations take notice, with NGOs proposing initiatives to test the devices in disaster-stricken regions. In one striking example, after a typhoon devastates an island community, black tech generators are flown in, restoring power in minutes without fuel or infrastructure. The results inspire headlines about a new age of resilience and clean recovery. But as momentum builds, so too does resistance from those with the most to lose. Oil executives convene behind closed doors, strategizing on how to slow the spread of this dangerous new idea. Lobbyists flood political offices, warning that embracing unproven energy risks national security and economic stability. In some countries, laws are quickly proposed to regulate or even ban the technology until further study can be conducted. These moves spark outrage among citizens who see the attempts as blatant protection of corporate interests. Protests erupt in major cities, where people carry signs demanding free and open access to black tech solutions. Young people, especially, become the loudest advocates, framing the technology as their generation's lifeline against climate collapse. Universities divide sharply, with some professors publishing research validating the physics behind the devices while others ridicule them as pseudoscience. This polarization only fuels public curiosity, as debates spill onto television screens, social media platforms, and dinner tables worldwide. Then, in a twist that few expected, a coalition of African nations steps forward to announce an official partnership to scale the technology. Leaders declare that they will no longer wait for Western approval to deploy something that could transform their economies and empower their citizens. Factories are opened, engineers trained, and distribution begins at an unprecedented pace across rural and urban communities. Within months, villages once dark after sunset now glow with light powered by black tech. Farmers power irrigation systems, children charge laptops, and hospitals operate equipment, all without reliance on external grids. The global narrative shifts as skeptics are forced to confront undeniable progress on the ground. This bold move alarms Western powers, who suddenly realize that technological leadership is slipping into new hands. Geopolitical maneuvers intensify, with sanctions threatened and accusations of theft and espionage thrown around. But the momentum cannot be stopped, because the images of progress are too powerful to ignore. For the first time, Africa is not just consuming innovation but leading a technological revolution with worldwide implications. China quickly joins the movement, seeing black tech as the perfect complement to its massive push for green energy leadership. A partnership forms between African engineers and Chinese manufacturers, accelerating production at scales that rival the early days of solar. The West watches with unease as the balance of energy power shifts away from their control. Meanwhile, public demand in Europe and America grows louder, with grassroots movements pressuring governments to adopt the technology. Elon Musk, caught off guard, initially dismisses the technology as unscalable. But as evidence mounts, he pivots, hinting that Tesla might integrate black tech into future models. This pivot fuels both excitement and suspicion, as some fear the technology could be monopolized by powerful corporations. Inventors and grassroots innovators fight to keep the tech open source, warning that centralization would betray its true purpose. The battle lines are drawn. Will black tech liberate humanity from centralized energy, or will it become just another tool of monopoly? As corporations scramble to file patents, a global movement emerges to protect the technology as a public good. Hackers and open-source communities publish blueprints, tutorials, and schematics online, ensuring the knowledge spreads beyond control. This digital rebellion makes suppression nearly impossible, because once millions know how to build it, the genie cannot be put back in the bottle. In boardrooms and parliaments, the conversation changes from, "Is it real?" to, "How do we control it?" But outside those rooms, the people have already chosen. They want freedom, they want abundance, and they want it now. The second wave of disruption comes when black tech is integrated into transportation. Cars that never stop to refuel or recharge roll off production lines, stunning an auto industry that thought electric vehicles were the final answer. Planes equipped with experimental modules fly across continents without burning fuel, rewriting the rules of aviation. Shipping giants test cargo vessels that move silently, powered by the ambient energy of the oceans and atmosphere. Every breakthrough adds another nail in the coffin of fossil fuel dependency. Markets panic, with oil prices plummeting and stock exchanges swinging wildly as investors scramble to reposition. Some economies built on fossil exports face crisis, while others seize the chance to reinvent themselves through innovation. For ordinary people, the revolution feels personal. Bills vanish, pollution clears, and freedom from fuel costs transforms daily life. Families no longer worry about power outages, because their homes generate their own electricity. Cities rethink infrastructure, no longer needing sprawling grids, power plants, or gas stations. The very fabric of modern civilization is rewoven around an invisible, abundant energy source. And still, the battle rages over who gets to own it. Corporate pushback grows fiercer, with lawsuits, propaganda, and aggressive lobbying trying to reclaim control. Some inventors are targeted with smear campaigns, their reputations attacked to discredit their work. Governments hesitate, torn between powerful lobbyists and the will of their citizens. Conspiracy theories multiply, suggesting shadowy organizations are trying to keep the public in the dark. But reality speaks louder. Every light that shines in a once dark village, every car that runs endlessly without fuel, every community freed from bills is proof. The unseen has become seen, and there is no turning back. The final act is not about technology, but about humanity's choice. Will we cling to the old systems of scarcity, control, and monopoly? Or will we embrace the promise of abundance, freedom, and equity that black tech makes possible? The answer lies not just in laboratories or boardrooms, but in each of us, in the stories we share, the demands we make, and the futures we imagine. Because this unseen black tech is not just an invention, it is a mirror reflecting our courage to let go of the past. It asks us whether we are brave enough to step into a future where energy is free, clean, and limitless. And if we are, then the world we know today will be remembered only as the age before the revolution.